Hello everyone, Alien Volt here, and let's talk about Assassin's Creed Origin and what is missing. Alright, well let's just say that I am an Assassin's Creed fan, and I've been playing Assassin's Creed games since the very first Assassin's Creed. And not 10 years later, but when it actually was released. Now, there's no denying that Assassin's Creed Origin looks amazing. I mean, it's the best looking Assassin's Creed game yet. Not only is it on the next generation engine, but it just looks better. It looks clearer. The graphics definitely look like they've been upscaled. Now, not that Syndicate looked bad, it didn't, but it didn't look like it was a much of an improvement over Unity. However, Unity was the very first game to come out on the next generation engine, and it definitely showed. It looked better than the previous games, especially Black Flag, but even better than Assassin's Creed Rogue, which in my opinion was probably one of their best games they made. Not just because of the story, but because the game just ran really smooth. It didn't have any problems. At least I didn't experience any. I think I ended up running into a couple glitches where I was trying to climb over things I shouldn't have been on, and I ended up falling inside of a rock a couple times. And I think it happened twice. But other than that, I really didn't have any problems. I didn't have any crashes. I didn't have any game-breaking bugs or issues that most of us experienced in Unity if we played it at one time or another. And even Syndicate had some issues. Now, Black Flag, although one of the most popular Assassin's Creed games, to me was one of the worst games developed. I mean, not as far as story and what you could do with the ships and stuff like that. That was amazing. And Rogue really took that and made it much better by just producing a game that was bug and trouble-free. Black Flag, even though they still sell it today, Ubisoft is, known for not really supporting their older games, and they don't. Black Flag doesn't really support a lot of resolutions. It has a lot of issues. There's a lot of bugs that you can go on the forums that were created, like 6 months after the game was released. Community fixes for these bugs, and you go in and it's like, why was a patch never made to resolve this issue so people don't have to hunt for hours and try to find solutions to problems that should have been fixed to begin with? Well, that's Ubisoft for you. And you would hope that their support for their games would be much better, especially after Unity, and I think it has to some extent, but they still don't dedicate any resources to go back and fix some of those older games that they're still making money on. And if you're selling it and making money on it, then you should go back and make sure it's fixed. That's just my opinion, but I think it's piss poor customer service to not do that. Now, Origins looks really, really good, and as you can see, it's on the small picture here on the screen while I'm playing Unity, but you can tell the details in the environment and just the way the game looks overall. And yes, this is Paris, and yes, it's a city full of smog and smoke, but the details, even on the character, you can see that it's a better resolution. It's a better quality, a higher resolution. It's definitely designed to support 4K, where Unity was not necessarily designed to support 4K. Even if you could go to those resolutions, the textures just weren't designed that way. Origins definitely looks like it is, and it's a very beautiful looking game, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun, especially with the redesigned combat systems, which looks like it blends the old school combat with the next generation combat that they designed and came out with in Unity. Now, like Syndicate, I was really stoked when I heard about what they were doing with Origins. Although it did surprise me, I was expecting something in the Wild West in America, because that's what their previous games had led up to, along with the side stories if you do them. you would see that they were talking about the Wild West and stuff like that, and pistols and Billy the Kid and things like that. And so I was really kind of expecting that type of a game, but that's not where they went with it. They ended up kind of doing a reboot, which is cool. I mean, it's going to be fun, I'm sure, but just like Syndicate, it's not going to have any type of multiplayer. And don't get me wrong, I don't really like the idea of the whole multiplayer for Assassin's Creed, with the exception of co-op. Co-op is something that made Unity special because it was the first Assassin's Creed to offer it. And although it had its problems, it definitely had some bugs. You couldn't even communicate with your teammates, which was a big problem. That should have been included from the beginning. I mean, you can't really work with someone and determine how you're going to go in and clear a mission if you can't even communicate with them. And the other thing was definitely connecting to other PCs, where you were using like their network connection, and maybe they were in Germany and you were in the United States, and so you'd have lag issues, and there were definitely some issues with it. But co-op is the main reason, while Unity was broken, it's the main reason why I played so much of Unity. I mean, it wasn't just the graphics, it wasn't just the combat, it wasn't just how beautiful and large Paris was, because that had a lot to do with it too, but the co-op experience that you could play with people, it was just amazing. It was a lot of fun, even with it being broken as it was. If you could play co-op, you could have a good time with this game. And I liked it. I liked it a lot. My kids liked it a lot. And that's what we did. We played a lot of co-op as a family. You know, and when we're not playing co-op in games, a lot of times we'll play MMOs or something that we can group up together anyways, which is basically the same thing, just on a smaller scale. And what was really cool about Unity, it wasn't just the co-op, it was everything they gave you to help with co-op. You know, all the gear, the way you could design your character to be a tank. You could go in, you know, with a two-handed weapon and a ton of armor with no stealth abilities at all, or range bonuses. You know, you were basically just a tank, and that's what you were set in to do, with a lot of life. And you could do that. You could run in there like that, and you could play as a tank and take, you know, all the mobs on you while everyone else came in behind you with melee and started taking out people more stealthily, while you were attracting all the attention, or someone could set back with ranged and shoot people and clear a path while other people went in stealthy. I mean, any way you wanted to play, you could design your characters and your group makeup, your composition, to go in there and do that. Now granted, had they had voice or even some way to type and communicate with each other without friending someone and put them on your list, or using TeamSpeak or something like that, it was harder to get those compositions right for the group. But if you did use something like that, or in my situation, we had a big computer room with like 5 gaming computers set up, you know, it made it very easy for us to play together and communicate with one another. And it was a blast. I mean, that was probably the best experience I've had in any co-op game, was playing Unity with co-op. And like I said, it was buggy. You definitely had bugs. I mean, sometimes you'd be playing and, you know, someone would go down right in front of you, but they were almost at full health when you saw them a second later, because of the lag and stuff like that happened. Or you'd have 3 enemies on you and you're trying to attack them and you're not doing any damage to any of them, and next thing you know, you're dead. I mean, it happened because of the networking and stuff like that. It really was something that needed to be resolved and worked on. But they didn't even try with Syndicate. They just canceled it completely. And then any hopes of doing that again with Origins has now vanished, because they're no longer doing that again. And I really don't understand why. It can't be that much more difficult to design co-op into a single-player game when you're not really doing anything new with it. It's still the same missions. You're just allowing people to play together. And whatever complications may arise from trying to include co-op, I think Ubisoft is definitely making a mistake by running from it. They're not addressing it. They're not trying to implement it. They're just running from it, hiding from anything to do with co-op because they just don't want to deal with the problems or the issues that it has when they release the game if it doesn't work right. Well, that's what testing's for. That's what, betas are for and alphas. Get a small group together and test them. I mean, pay people to test the game. That's what game manufacturers did anyways. I mean, today they just release these betas and expect everyone to test the games for free, or alphas, and you get in there and hell, I mean, even now with crowdfunding, people are paying to test games. That's saving a lot of money for these developers who used to have to pay people to actually test the games. And maybe they still do on some extent, I don't know. What I do know is that for whatever reason, Ubisoft has basically went away from any form of multiplayer at all. And although I didn't really like the traditional multiplayer matches or modes that they had before, where you ran around in crowds and tried to assassinate people, that wasn't nearly as fun or interesting to me as what co-op offered. And co-op was just something that was playing the same game that you would normally be required to play, but it allowed you to play it with friends and just have fun. I mean, you could go in and just try to annihilate everybody. You could go in and try to do it stealthily, and playing with other people made a lot of doing those missions, especially repeating the missions for gear and for money, it made it a lot of fun. And I wish they would take time to actually develop that mode for the game. I mean, even if it was added in later as a DLC, I think it would be a lot of fun and it would be worthwhile to have them do that. I've said it before in other videos that when Syndicate came out, all of my kids wanted it. We pre-ordered it for everybody. And then later it was released that, well, we're not going to do a multiplayer. So no co-op, no multiplayer at all. And they were pretty disappointed. They barely touched Syndicate. In fact, I don't think one of them finished the game. Now Origins is coming out, and the first question I was asked, does it have co-op? And I was like, nope. No co-op again. Not one of them want the game. I mean, with everything that it offers, as good as it looks, as fun as I think the game's going to end up being, none of them want to play it because it lacks co-op. And that says a lot. Although a lot of people may not have cared much because they didn't like it or didn't play it, there are a lot of people out there that enjoy co-op. Even if it has glitches like Unity had. I mean, you saw that guard there, you couldn't attack him. He was basically just dumb and stood there. He was either already dead or he just wasn't entirely active or alert. So I ran by him a couple times and nothing could happen. And just like here, I'm in combat either because of that guard or because of one of the people I'm in here with, where one of my sons can come up and grab the painting off the wall because he wasn't in combat, just me. Could have been the NPC, I'm not sure. Probably was. Either way, small glitch, not game breaking, but definitely something that could be fixed or improved upon in a new Assassin's Creed. It's obviously way too late for them to add any type of multiplayer or co-op experience for Origins. But the point is that they should have. They really should have. Because multiplayer gives a game life after you've beaten the story a couple times, after you've went through and got all the, achievements done, you've found all the collectibles, everything's done. There's no reason to go back into the game other than just to kill shit. I mean, co-op gives you a reason to extend the life of the game, as does a multiplayer mode. Now, although I wasn't a huge fan of the multiplayer mode of Assassin's Creed games in the past, I did really enjoy co-op. And the best thing about co-op is, if you don't want to do it, it doesn't affect your game. You don't have to. But if you want to, it's there. It's there to go through, play through with friends, and have a good time. And that's why I have twice as many hours on Unity as I have on any other Assassin's Creed game, the closest being probably Black Flag with 110 hours. But anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.